Förfärfunga, mantra takubu. With Dale and Tony breaking all the rules. Talking tech biz and straight up chaos. Quick fire guests, oh yeah, we slay those.
We are so up ourselves, Tony. We would jive into the jingle in the background, and Richard was just sitting there, like in the green room, like the hell.
These guys.
I don't think I've ever heard that before.
It's new.
Do it. And Richard was just, sorry. Hi, I'm Dale Rodriguez. This is for Bongamont of the Cube. With me today, I've got my co-host,
Tony Stevenson.
And we've got our dope guest,
Richard Sargent,
aka Ricardo Sargente. If you're feeling Latino or Hispanic.
Is that his Portuguese alter ego?
Ricardo.
Oh, I'd like that.
Ricardo.
Yeah.
Do you know what? There's power in silence.
There is.
Makes for a great podcast, doesn't it?
Makes for terrible radio, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Like people listening to this right now or listening later, they'll be like, "The hell's going on? Give me some adjectives, describe some stuff."
Well, there's never ever truly silence, is there? You know, this whole, is it Philip Glass type stuff where you'd sit for 9 minutes in silence with an orchestra not playing, and you just have the noise of the ambience of around you, and that is the performance. So there's never true silence, is there?
Have you heard about that? So they built this like the ethereal they, where I don't have the reference to hand. Some people somewhere built, which may or may not be true, built this like silent room, and it was like deadened to the outside noises. Can't believe Tony, you get the blue shirt. We laugh, Sam, because we literally were talking about 30 seconds before we came in here. Yeah. I might actually just go and get changed if, like, in midway through. I'm going to take a little shirt break and go and get changed into a blue shirt midway through.
No. Get changed on camera. Our viewings and ratings will go way up. FM does OnlyFans. FMOF. From off. Sorry.
From off.
Sorry, Richard. It's not about us. It's about you.
I'm not sure if you're inviting me to join in or I should ask me to subscribe.
That's not a no to either of those things, Richard. That's not a no to either.
No. And I think it's called an anechoic chamber or something like that.
Is that the thing I was talking about?
Yeah, there are rooms out there that try and get to a maximum amount of sound absorption.
Yeah, and
it's called anechoic chambers or something like that.
You put like the longest anyone's ever lasted in there is like 45 minutes before they just kind of have to leave because it's just so oppressive, which I can kind of understand. We don't like silence as humans, do we?
No, mind you, I've been into some conferences and stuff where I felt exactly the same.
Catherine Freeman, no thanks. So I think that's a thumbs down to the FMOF idea.
Okay, cool. Put it back in the maybe pile then.
I don't know, Catherine.
Catherine.
Maybe if you see Tony with the shirt off, you might change your mind.
I don't think so.
This is the wrong kind of audience engagement. So this is a business podcast. Richard,
yes.
For those who don't know you, because you've been on like last month, but like there might be other people who haven't seen you or heard you yet. Your name is Richard Sargent.
Yeah.
You have a business called Principal Point. For the laymans, for the people who don't watch this all the time, the fools that they are, what is a principal point?
What is a principal point? Well, Principal Point is my small consultancy firm that works almost exclusively with software vendors who are building products for bookkeeping and accounting community. And that's it. So that's pretty much all I work.
Internationally?
Predominantly, I would say. It's probably about 80% of my stuff is UK. Yeah, I also have a normal role. Pardon?
I'm just making beef. I said, tell them Kiwis how it's done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. It was the Australians. They all think they're right, don't they? So it's more about those. The stuff I do outside of the UK is research stuff, mainly European, bit of US stuff. And then it's helping businesses who are outside of the UK think about the UK, which is kind of where the other international stuff comes in, really. I have a nominal role with an international association called Box, which is accountants and lawyers, which I enjoy very much. Mm-hmm. And I do bits around the periphery, but it's all related pretty much to accountants and bookkeepers.
So completely unrelated. sumo wrestling. We discussed it last time you were on the show, but we didn't even get to like that part.
No,
Please, for the audience, I've just made a statement. I haven't asked a question. You like sumo wrestling, correct? Yes or no?
Yes.
How did you get into sumo wrestling? Because it's quite a niche hobby or sport to be into in the UK.
Yeah, well, unlike my love of LFC, Liverpool Football Club, let's all kind of give them a round of applause for beating Arsenal at the weekend, regardless of how terrible.
Good goal as well, wasn't it? Lovely goal.
It was a great goal, but it saved the match, really.
How do you pronounce that gentleman's name?
Szoboszlai. Dominic Szoboszlai.
Okay, there we go. Yeah.
But you have to say it in with a kind of Hungarian kind of.
Okay.
So unlike your love of your football team, which are handed down to you by your parents, mine were my love of sumo came really from late night Channel 4, early 90s. So coming back from the pub, sticking on the telly, Channel 4 was the place you had to go to, really. And they used to show highlights of the sumo wrestling. And, we're sitting there with a packet of chips after a few beers. It's kind of like intriguing, brilliant stuff to watch with your mates, isn't it? So that's kind of where it lodged in my brain. And I didn't really think about it for about 20 years or so. And then just before COVID hit, it was in 2019, I found the Soft Power channel, NHK World. It's Japanese soft power kind of like channel, which is absolutely brilliant. It's my favorite channel on telly. And we just happened to be watching one day, and the highlights of the sumo came on, and it kind of like you're having flashbacks to packets of chips and lots of beer, and thinking, oh, I'm going to give this a watch, and it's just hooks me. So for the last 6 years or so, I've been watching as much as I can, and I've loved it. So, and I love it because actually it's incredibly skillful. These are athletes. Then their bodies are incredibly powerful, but also extraordinarily flexible, and it's a martial art in my view. It's just the discipline around it is incredible, and it's brilliant. It's captivating to watch, and my wife's really into it too, so it's not just me kind of sitting there alone. We kind of like fanatically sit down and watch.
Was that an instant take from her, or did you have to persuade her into following your love?
Well, kind of like child, early 70s, 80s, was it kind of 70s babies, early 80s child? There's a music reference here. We kind of have similar tastes and that kind of stuff, So growing up with your mates watching Channel 4, Laugh to the Pub seems to be kind of like a universal trait. So she's aware of it and didn't take much persuading, really.
Have you been and watched it live?
No, I haven't been to Japan. I'd love to. There is a tournament, well, it's kind of a showcase tournament, not a real tournament, happening in London, but the seats are astronomically expensive. It's a complete rip-off.
More than £200.
How astronomically expensive? Are we talking like Oasis surge pricing?
Yeah, we're talking about. They market them out at about 40 or 50 quid. I think there's probably about 3 seats up in the gods, somewhere around that. And the rest were in the hundreds. And actually, when you got into the horrible queuing system to try and buy it, it's all at the Albert Hall. By the time I got into it, there was practically no seats left except super VIP packages, which were basically £1,000 per person, and for one afternoon.
But I had a similar thing. I got an email for Dave Chappelle tickets from Ticketmaster literally this morning, and I saw it come in, and I had time, and I went on. 15 minutes later, and it's like, there are no more tickets left. I was like, damn it, 15 minutes. That's all it took.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough idea. I mean, I don't have much sumo merch around. I've got a little sumo calendar that sits next to my desk.
I need to bring in a joke. Sorry, Sam Green's made a joke. Sam Green, more expensive than Counting Excellence Awards. Question mark. Sorry.
It's a mark of quality, isn't it?
I want to talk to the viewers for a second, because we kind of like talk to the guests, obviously. Dear viewers, you make this show. Guests make the show. Viewers also make the show. Please ask Richard questions. He's a knowledgeable guy. And to put you at ease, the questions cannot be dafter than the questions we asked him the first time. He has answered the biscuit question. He's answered the coffee question. I'm pretty sure he did quickfire. I don't think he's punched a fictional character yet. Have you punched a fictional character yet?
No.
Okay, simple question, Richard. If you could punch one fictional character in the face and get away with it, no judgment, anyone, anything, who would it be?
Fictional character.
Fictional character, yeah.
Tommy Robinson. He's made up because his name's
Is it AI? Is he?
And
You're
he
the
is an
second person that said a real. No,
absolute-
you're the third person that said a real person.
He's not real. He's a
He's real.
cartoon Muppet clown. He doesn't exist. He's made up, and everything he spews out of his foul mouth is just hateful and disgusting. So until he kind of goes under his real name and starts being real, then if it's going to be a person who doesn't actually kind of even inhabit this world, then who else? Who else?
While you think, I'll ask you your question, Catherine. So I came to the conclusion mine would be the Hulk. I want to see what his chin's like because he's a big guy and he throws it about, and I'd feel like
you'd break your hand, bro.
Hey, we'll see, won't we?
Break your hand. No, you. If he were real, you'd break your hand. Facts. You've seen him take a bullet. You think you can punch harder than a bullet?
We'll see, won't we?
I know for a fact you can't. I know. And
So
to answer your question,
fights.
Catherine, see the reason why Catherine's commenting on this because she's the first one to answer it in the funniest way. She was the first person to give a real person. She named an actress. I can't remember. I want to say Olivia something. I don't know. The actress from Peep Show. If you've ever seen Peep Show, the lady in that, she mentioned her by name.
Olivia. I literally had this conversation about 2 days ago with my wife because I couldn't remember her name, and it's Olivia something.
And me, being the douchebag that I am, I bring it back every so often. Like Catherine's not lived it down yet. She's booked onto the show in a couple of months to kind of, I don't know, redeem herself. Who did we ask the other day that said Logan Paul? Who was that? That was literally last week, or week before last.
Olivia Colman.
Yeah. But someone else said a real person. Richard, so you said, sorry, Tommy Robinson.
I haven't come up with another kind of one yet. I might have to sit on that for a minute.
Mine was Stewie Griffin because, he's annoying, he's pretentious, and it's the only time I could probably smack a baby and get away with it.
Thank you, Catherine. It's Olivia Colman.
Olivia Colman. Sam Green's got a question. Thank you, Sam.
It's
keen, time to bust out the meal deal question for a second week in a row. You know what? Again, credit to Josh Probert Waters. Oh man, I need to look up his name. I'm sorry, I always get his name wrong every time. Bear with me, folks. Bear with me.
I think it is, yeah.
Again, radio fun. Probert Waters. He asked the question, Richard, to you or future guests. When you're getting a Tesco/Asda meal deal, what are you going for? What flavour crisps? What kind of sandwich or sushi or whatever it is, or what snack?
Which shop?
Let's go for Tesco.
Tesco. I don't really like Tesco food. I would probably go for something really pretty plain, I think, and I probably want to go for something which is more likely to be vegetarian, because I don't trust where meat comes from these days on the whole. So I would go for some kind of. I prefer a wrap, so I'd probably go for a falafel wrap because I don't really know. Yeah, so something like that, and crisps, salt and vinegar is fine, as long as it's a good quality crisp. So Walkers, stick with it, and I'd probably go for a bottle of water as well.
How very healthy of you.
It's a bit boring, isn't it? But yeah, I think that's true.
I didn't get to answer this question last week because I was otherwise engaged. So I've had a week to think about it. So I know you haven't asked me, but I'm going to answer it anyway because I've been thinking about it. It's been on my mind. I historically... I'm not answering.
I'm sorry. I thought I was funny. For people listening, I just muted Tony's mic because I thought it'd be funny. Richard, what kind of show is this?
It's really funny. I feel like this is what happens when we have people on the second time. Is that the first time we sort of it's quite not serious, but we get through what we got to get through, and then perhaps
I like to feel like I'm wasting people's time.
Well, technically, that's what we're doing, Richard. We invited you on, and we haven't really asked you any questions. We were literally wasting your time. So, sorry, Tony. Let me curate this. Let me moderate this. Okay, Tony. Please answer the question. No, please answer the question, and then we'll ask Richard a serious question about industry.
I'm not mad. I'm fine. Historically, my common one will be like the triple. Like the prawns, and then the chicken, and then the other chicken one, and then crisps. So, as a kid, I absolutely hated cheese and onion crisps. Couldn't stand to be around them. The smell was hideous. And then somewhere in my brain switched, and I was like, I tried them, and it's like my brain has been constantly trying to catch up on my lost childhood, cheese and onion wise, because it really struggles to choose anything that's not cheese and onion, unless there are certain like elite level like flaming hot monster munch or oysters.
Space
Oysters or not space raiders. I don't like pickled onion flavour stuff. Cheese and onion, but not pickled onion. So yeah, and then if like it's probably a Diet Coke. I've usually got a water with me, so I wouldn't choose a water because I've usually got water with me. But yeah, that's my meal.
We're similar in that regard. I used to hate cheese and onion as well as a kid. Now I kind of like it. Catherine Frimond, redemption. That's from back when I mocked her about the whole Olivia Colman thing. Mark Cowison, director Richard, he's saying, get Purdy's instead of Waterman. I can't read it in his accent because he's Scottish, from Aberdeen specifically. So you guys want to try an Aberdeen type accent and offend Mark, that would be grand.
I don't know what Purdy's is.
I mean, I could go with that.
All right, serious time. Guests, viewers, thank you for humouring me specifically, because Tony's been on point. I've just been waffling. Richard, all right, so you work in the accounting, bookkeeping, fintech space. You collaborate, you bring it all together. I'm going to ask you a negative focus question. What's ticking you off nowadays, right now, in the industry? UK fintech or accounting, what's irking you? What's irksome?
Well, right now I've got a hot button to kind of push right now, which is around inaccuracies, small lack of detail that have big consequences. So not only am I, producing stuff for people and coming on podcasts and stuff like that, which I really thoroughly enjoy, I kind of professionally have to watch them as well. And the number of mistakes I can see and hear people making has kind of reached an almost weirdly epidemic proportion. And I don't know if it's just because I'm tuned into it and I'm kind of looking for it. I'm not looking for things to go wrong, but what I've noticed is that, especially around, let's kind of tie it in kind of quite specifically, especially around MTDIT at the moment, right? There's so much information coming out towards people. They're coming from the professional bodies, they're coming out from lots and lots of coming out from the vendors. HMRC putting information out, the professional bodies putting stuff. There's lots of information that's going out to people. And if you're an accountant and bookkeeper, I can imagine already that you're trying to find and locate and navigate yourself around what you perceive to be trusted sources. And on the whole, we understand that the most trusted sources are the professional bodies. So I get that. But then people do look and expect vendors to know what they're talking about. And I've seen so many small mistakes that have potentially kind of big ramifications associated with them. For example, saying that when talking about thresholds for MTDIT, getting them confused with the VAT threshold. So publicly stating that the VAT threshold under time will come down to £20,000, stuff like that.
That's the first time I've heard that.
Well, it's happened twice.
Oh dear.
People confusing different types of thresholds, confusing different types of MTD. Right? Yep. We've had VAT. This is about income tax. We've had people talking about how you have to use the same piece of software to do your quarterly updates as well as your final returns. Again, which is not true, but also from a practice perspective, would present significant challenges. Right. So even things like that, mechanical things which may seem like, small slip ups. If you've got 200-300 people on a podcast or a webinar, and you're saying things like that, people are accepting what you're saying. And the repercussions of it are that you see it in online forums and chats and LinkedIn groups and WhatsApp groups in particular, people talking about it. And not in the sense of, do you hear what they just said? That was factually incorrect and wrong. It throws in doubt and ambiguity. And if you're a busy person in practice, you don't have time to try and question and filter through all those doubts and ambiguities, or you're accepting things at face value. And I think that's tremendously unfair, people. So that's a big bee in my body. It's not about get your facts right. It's getting the facts right. Basics.
Random thought. based on what you said, bear with me, this might be a very tenuous link. I always find the relationship between business owners and accounting firms slash accountants in practice quite strange, in so much as, like, who needs to know this and who should be implementing it or leading it? And on the one hand, the business owner owns the business, it's kind of their responsibility. On the other hand, they outsource to an accounting firm or bookkeeper to handle that for them. In theory, if they were big enough or had the money, they would have a bookkeeper or an accountant on their books, 60k a year, 80k a year, depending how much they want to earn, and they pay them full time. So in theory, the client is actually paying for the accountant or bookkeeper to know this, because essentially you're a part-time employee. That's what you are. You're in addition to that business, and you should be treated as such. And in theory, if your job is to do these things, the VAT returns, the filings, you should kind of know. And I say that, I'm saying this to myself, by the way, because again, I'm one of those people that's been quite quiet about MTD on the social space, because I'm like, I'm still learning stuff.
We all are.
So, because it's also, in my opinion, it's also a chicken and egg situation. HMRC want people to be on the beta to test it, see if it works. There's pretty much no incentive for a SME to be on it to test, see if it works, apart from they're going to have to do it at some point. And that clock is ticking. Like, who's going to do it first? Who's going to see if it works? I've had clients asking me, how's it work? And I'm like, I don't know yet. The fintech vendors haven't really built the system yet. And I don't think HMRC have really turned it on yet, unless you want to go on the beta. And no one wants to go on the beta. So, no, that was a random waffle link to what you said.
I think that's absolutely fair. Just to kind of, I don't know, maybe build it or expand it, I'm not quite sure. But what worries me about this kind of small discrepancies in what it can do to people is that if you have a profession that's not sure or has questions or has doubts, how are they supposed to best advise people? Accountants often want to, and professionally you understand exactly why, talk from a position of authority. So they want to talk from, I understand this situation, I understand what needs to go ahead. So before I can best advise you, I need to understand the situation. So either on a client by client basis, it's like, let's talk about you. But if it's something about implementation like MTDIT, how can some of them feel, how can I best advise clients if I don't fully understand it all myself, or have all these questions buzzing around? So that's what I mean by it kind of complicates, it creates these other ripples. The other thing around it, Dale, is that what I also see is that, and I mean this, it's one of those like dreadful sentences. I'm going to ask for absolution as I say it, right? It's one of those things where some accountants scare the horses. They kind of they have the potential to induce more panic in their clients if they're not careful.
Yeah.
And again, forgive me because I don't want to make it sound.
No. Say it as it is. Say the mean thing. Say it.
I don't. I think some people are perhaps getting their knickers in a twist a bit too much about it, and therefore they feel that they can't. Some of the communications they're giving out to their clients is too mixed. The best possible answer is probably a flat back answer, which is if you're not sure about something, going, this is a complicated situation. We'll need to kind of really bottom out for it. When it's time for us to talk to you about it, we'll come and sit down. We'll work out the best approach for you. Not, I'm going to give you lots of explanations about what's wrong and how bad HMRC is. That's not helpful. So again, forgive me for saying it, but I'm seeing some of that behaviour in there as well. And
no forgiveness, no mercy, no quarter.
Yeah, no.
I would say we listen, but we don't judge. But I listen and judge all the time.
I don't want that to be seen as in any way indicative of what.
You don't want to be negative. I get it. No, I get it. Man. I'm teasing you. Thank you. Honestly, thank you for bringing these points. That's why I had you back in. You hit home. I don't think anyone who's listening to this in our space can argue with what you said. And if they can, come on the show, because Richard's speaking facts. Honestly, what you said was perfect and flawless. So thank you. I am in a zany mood, and I'm taking over with my diatribe.
Tony,
you got your hand up.
Yeah, before we move off this one, is it all right if I just have a little speak on it? So I agree, right? The accuracy is important, and things like getting the VAT rate mixed up with the limits and supposing that the VAT rate might move to align with it is not helpful really to the situation, right? And as vendors, I speak for myself, I speak for Free Agent, we want to be accurate on this stuff. And as we talked about previously, digitally. We made a little mistake on one of our webinars, and it got picked up, and we issued an email out to everybody to say it got addressed in the body of like spoken correctly, but in the comments it got pulled up incorrectly, and so we issued a little apology email out to everyone just to say, to be clear, this is the correct position on this stuff. So I think that what we've found is that, to your point, Dale, about it not being built yet, that's categorically not the case. Ours is built. We're making submissions. Like it's as done as it can be done at this stage. And I think that there's always going to be those niggly little edge cases of this type of stuff, right? And exactly like you said, Richard, we should be getting the simple stuff kind of dealt with in a big block, and then getting to the nitty gritty, niggly little bits and pieces individually with clients as we come through. And I think the reality of it is that with MTD IT, we've known that it was coming for a long time, but those really granular corners of like, I've got this one client that's got these 27 different mitigations to why they're not part of the normal system. That is kind of, I feel like we're not in a place where necessarily every single one of those questions has been fully answered directly, but we've probably got a good assumption based on what is out there in the world, and that's not an excuse for lack of accuracy on this stuff, and it's important because it affects 3 million businesses across the course of the next 3 years, right? So you're very, very right on this stuff needs to be right. I'd urge anyone that feels confused about it to fact check from the origin source of the revenue. And if you can't find answers from that, speak to them directly, and make sure that you're comfortable. But you're right, misinformation just slows everything down, and it causes people to question as to the validity of the project, which a lot of people have been kind of quite negative about. Ultimately, my stance is it's only ever a timing difference. Like, this is going to happen. Like, you can't imagine a time in 30 years where this wouldn't be implemented and be the case. Like, the method for delivery is maybe up for question, but the sentiments behind moving to a digital tax system is inevitable. And whether that's this year or next year, or the year after, or whenever it might be, I think we're pretty locked in on it now, and I can't see it. You say it's famous last words. Can't see anything changing. But yeah, but I definitely think there's still a bit around this sort of like the bit about, you file your quarterlies and then you can pull that information down. There's still a bit of confusion around that. And, I can only really speak for Free Agent, but we had some people coming to us at the events earlier in the year, sort of not able to get an answer about that particular bit of it from elsewhere on the floor, which is understandable, right? Like, not everybody in every business knows exactly the details of it, and it might just been an individual thing, but the bones of it are pretty laid out as it goes. So yeah, I'm kind of with you. We all need to make sure as an industry that we're as accurate as possible and straightforward as possible on this stuff, because otherwise it just slows everything down, causes headaches.
Tony, and I appreciate that, and I would say from my meager understanding that Free Agent are doing really well in terms of what they've developed. I'd say generally, though, if you're an accountant and you're not familiar with Free Agent, or you have lots of different clients and you need to accommodate lots of different types of clients that may or may not be natural Free Agent clients for whatever reason, then actually trying to find what you believe to be your end-to-end solution out there is really challenging, because different products do different things. They help in different kinds of ways.
Yep.
You still got to consolidate around a tax product. And as far as I can understand, and forgive me, and you guys probably know it better than I do, but the tax part is the actual tax return bit is the bit that seems to be singly missing from the piece. The most difficult bit, but where is it to look at? It's not there, is it?
So that definitely seems to be the piece that, if I talk generally about the software world, that seems to be lagging the most. We have a final declaration built, so we've got that. Obviously, the Free Agent platform has limitations that, Tesco wouldn't be able to file on the Free Agent platform, but we make no secret about that, right? And we'll be in a position where, like, the
you can't file from Tesco's.
Yeah, exactly right. The absolute majority of scenarios will be catered for in that situation. That bit seems to be less clear around the rest of the market. So yeah, I think I get the feeling that the quarterly bit's been built first, and then the final declaration bit is still being decided upon. But ultimately, like you said, most practices will have a centralized system that they will feed into from a number of different platforms. So
that's the problem we have. So our personal tax are specialists, and they don't sit within the accounts and bookkeeping team, although there's some overlap. They've had their own platform for quite a while. It works very, very well. They know how to use it, and they can do the final declarations, all that kind of stuff. Some of them have never really used Free Agent Zero and other things like that, and they're like, well, how do we get this into our centralized personal tax system? There isn't, as far as I'm aware, happy to be corrected by anyone viewing or later, a link that quite works in the way that we would like it to work. Now, is that a case of we as a practice need to maybe adjust the way we work, or there's all these kind of other back-end complexities that make it a bit harder for
But it should be
for start, the data comes from HMRC, not the ledger. So that's not really the issue. Yeah, that's not really a challenge, really. The challenge, I think, is going to be is that, again, I don't know this for certain, but my view is that all these tax products are having to be rewritten from the ground up because the amount of complexity around getting some of this data down is challenging and hard. And that's a massive overhead on vendors. In reality, the kind of cultural challenge has always been pitched as, and the biggest challenge is how do you bring your clients along with you on the MTD-IT journey? And that's been the story from vendors for a long time, and I believe it to be true. But the other flip side of it is actually how do you build these kind of products that work at the end, the death when you've got to submit something, and how do you kind of embed that within your practice? And I think that's the biggest technical challenge, actually.
It's always about
I've just got all my
people, right?
Barney, the purple dinosaur.
You punch Barney in the face.
You know
what? I think a lot of people would agree with you. If there are people watching this live now, could you comment? Would you give Barney a good whack if he could get away with it?
Totally smack him.
He figured heavily in our house as a child. Barney did, predominantly my sister rather more than me because it was more her age group. But yeah,
I love you, you love me. We're one happy family.
You're doing it for me. You're making my case for me.
That is very annoying. So on the theme of, this is what came to my head earlier, by the way, with my random thoughts. On the theme of children's TV and childhood memories, honestly, this is my crazy brain.
An interruption.
This isn't on purpose, though. This is mainly. What childhood theme do you remember the best that was an absolute banger? Because we're all men of a certain age, and we had some pretty dope cartoons or TV shows with dope theme tunes. And I'm going to separate it. I'm going to actually ask two. One for cartoon, one for live-action TV show.
Ooh. It's a bit old for me, but I always liked the Fireman Sam theme tune, the original one. And the reason why I really liked it, it was pretty cool. But if I had the 7-inch, I told you my record collection is diverse. On the B side, it was sung in Welsh, and it's got an amazing guitar solo in it.
Does it?
Yeah,
I don't remember the guitar solo. I remember the Sam being the fireman next door.
I don't think you ever got that far when you're listening to it on the opening credits. But it does have a banging one. I mean, it probably wouldn't be my best, but it's up there.
A bit like our jingle, it's actually 2 minutes long.
Oh, Sam Green's coming in with a strong contender. Alvin and the Chipmunks always slapped hard. CHIPMUNK, we're the Chipmunks. Da-da-da-da. Yeah. My man Sam coming in strong.
I always like the 18 one as well,
It's a banger. It's well written.
So the one that just popped into my head immediately was the Poddington Peas.
Down at the bottom of the garden.
Yeah.
Between the birds and the bees.
But then I've also had, and I don't actually know if it's a theme tune or if it's part of a cartoon or where it came from at all, but the cat came back the very next day. And I have had that song in my head for at least 30 years. I don't really know where it came from, what it's about, but it's there and it is not going anywhere anytime soon. So yeah, I don't know.
Catherine Freeman, he is the hero next door. Norman is still around, burning down buildings. Norman was atrocious, wasn't he? That kid was next.
Not as annoying as Barney the dinosaur, though. I'd lock him in the building and let Norman at him.
Okay, here's a question for you: who's more annoying, Barney or Peppa Pig?
Barney.
Okay, fair enough.
Peppa Pig's brilliant, isn't it?
Oh, Mark Harrison also coming in strong. Can't beat Hong Kong. Sorry, I said Canna beat Hong Kong.
Yeah.
the mild-mannered janitor. He was dope.
Yeah. Let's get that.
For
How
me,
about pure minimalism? You could go for Bagpuss. Oh my god, that's a left field choice. Absolute minimalism.
I don't remember the
Minimalism.
Bagpuss theme tune.
It's just basically about 10 notes on a weird mandolin type thing.
How do you feel about the Wombles?
Round the twist.
When string things happen.
It is astonishing how much stuff is lodged in there, isn't it? And around this,
What a colossal waste of memory. If I could delete that, that'd be grand. I don't need that.
Wipe the cache. Yeah. Gone.
Yeah. I was
The
just thinking
X-Men
about the
theme
live
tune.
action one as well. You know, that going anything with Glenn O. Larson associated with it, it's probably going to have a massively big tune, isn't it? But again, for a really weird left field choice, I was just thinking about the Airwolf theme and how that's probably closest you're going to get to kind of the goth version.
I was going to say Knight Rider.
Moving backwards on the dance floor to Airwolf.
Airwolf was dope as well.
This is a trip down memory lane. Yeah.
We've alienated our younger audience. They're like, what are these shows? I say, watch them, young ones. Watch them.
Who's Glenn A. Larson? Dear history.
My daughter is currently watching the 1983 Thundercats.
That's cool.
Not encouraged by me, by the way. She saw it referenced on another show when Dad, I want to watch this, and we watched it. If you watch it again, it actually has an overarching story. There's actually like a full-on narrative between them. Like, yeah, it's not just action and them chopping. Like, there's a whole story. It's crazy stuff I don't remember.
Why
as a
are
kid.
they all so pumped though? That's what it's going to get me. Why are they all so massively jacked?
Steroids?
Because 80s, 90s cartoons were all like that.
Okay.
Took their inspiration from the golden era of bodybuilding, right?
Mm.
Ronnie and Jay Cutler and Dwayne Yates and all that. They were like,
Lightweight, baby.
here's some photos, colour them in, like put them in a cartoon. Yeah, lightweight baby, absolutely. I don't think the rest of them had a catchphrase quite as good as Ronnie's, but yeah.
I mean, Arnie had catchphrases when he was in the movies, which, in my opinion, doesn't happen enough anymore. Honestly, tell me this. In the last 10 years, you've watched an action movie, maybe an MCU, DC, whatever it is. When have they had a one-liner that you hear, 9, 10-year-old little boys saying over and over again? I used to say hasta la vista all the time, baby. But is there any film in the last 10 years where you've gone, that's a banging catchphrase?
I don't watch enough films, so no.
The films I watch are too weird. They probably wouldn't. No.
Oh? As in, like, you like watching, like, Cannes Film Festival films? Is that what you mean? Like, when you say weird, or...?
I just end up seeing films that nobody else seems to watch. Like, Phil Hobden does this great kind of, like, film, video type thing. And I look at that and I go, I haven't seen any of these.
But he picks, like, the most mainstream and popular films.
Well, I go to cinema quite a lot, and I go and see a lot of times going to see films that my kids want to watch, or so I go along with them. So I've had probably every single Marvel movie and all that, so I'm not kind of devoid of it. It's just most of these kind of films from the 80s and 90s and stuff like that, I just didn't like or didn't watch. There's loads I haven't seen.
This is where you tell us you haven't watched Terminator.
I have, yeah. I remember the first one being extraordinary and I just couldn't believe the whole kind of setup of it was just amazing. So the original Terminator to me is probably controversially the best one, even though it's some rugby acting in it and all the rest of it. So when Terminator 2 came along, it was just like, oh my god, this is just taking it to the next level. So I remember the Terminator films quite fondly because they were cultural moments. They were really big cultural moments. The first RoboCop was a massive cultural moment.
Yeah,
it's a terrible film. But...
They don't make them like they used to. I know.
Isn't Terminator 2 sort of widely regarded as, I'm not a film knowledge person at all, but like, isn't Terminator 2 regarded as in one of that like really niche group where the sequel is deemed to be like better than the original?
Oh, like Godfather.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Good.
Correct.
Oh,
There's very few films that do that.
Superman. Star Wars. Ooh, Indiana Jones.
Call that a knife? Now that was a catchphrase. Very good.
See? No catchphrase. Again, maybe we're showing our age, but I feel like there's no good catchphrases that come out in the last 10, 15 years from movies. Again, people correct me if I'm wrong.
So I've got a question for you, which is swerving us back onto the professional.
Yeah.
So apologies for that. So Portugal this year. You are
Yeah.
touring round. Did we get to it last time, Portugal? I'm not even really sure. Did we? Did we think we maybe touched on it? The first question is tell us about it, and the second question is like having had that conversation earlier about Japan and you not having been to sumo in Japan. Is that on the list for one of your continental long haul trips for the principal point round the world excursion?
Well, the last one, second one first. Yes, and I'm hoping that to go with Box International for International Conference.
Oh, lovely.
Which is in Japan next year. So it's New York this year, which is going to be fascinating, absolutely fascinating. Coming up, and then so the year after is in Japan. And if it's in November, so sumo tournaments happen in the odd months of the year, so January, March, May,
all right,
September, November.
Why is that?
Because Japan.
Because it's Japan. So it's 6 a year, and they last for 15 days. So every 6 months, there's a 15-day tournament. So, all those stars align. At the moment, box conferences the international ones tend to be October, November time. So, it's kind of edging towards being able to kind of.
So first, you need to get them to have the conference at the right time, and then secondly, you need to get them to.
My influence in these is not to be stated. Not to be.
It's all right. We'll use the FM influence. We'll clip this bad boy up and lobby them with this show.
I just love the idea of Richard renegotiating his contract, and he's like, "Look, I'm not a diva. It's just here's my terms."
No, they're all very, very aware and tolerant of my my love of sumo. We're in Amsterdam for one of the conferences last year, the year before, and we were coming back from some kind of social bit, and I was in the minibus where it was bringing us back from somewhere. I was watching the live broadcast, and Wakataka Kage is one of the ones I really love, won the championship for the first time, and I was gripped. He needed to win that last bout to kind of to do it, and he did it, and I was just the absolute specimen myself, shouting and cheering him on. So yes, they're well aware of and of that.
I've got a couple of sub questions. So, how do they structure? Is there like a sort of? I started watching This Is Wrexham with Ryan Reynolds and Robert, the other guy, and I really enjoy the way that their sort of American Canadian translation to like the terms that we use for like soccer, football, like all that, and like how their equivalent of like NFL or whatever sort of translates into what we do. Like, how do they structure? Is there like a Premier League? Is there like a UFC?
Oh my god! Wow.
Yeah. How does it?
Tony, sit back. How long have we got? So there's a pyramid structure, and it's done by rank. So in the same way that martial artists kind of go through different types of belts, if you will, kind of get better and better and better. Sumo is kind of structured in that way, but on the basis of competitiveness. So you keep winning and you can make your way up through the pyramid. And at the bottom of the pyramid, there's probably something like 1,000 rikishi. So rikishi is the name of a sumo wrestler. It's the generic term for a sumo wrestler. It's rikishi. The bottom of the pyramid is very broad, very light, and they're mainly either elderly sumo wrestlers or they're very, very young, right? So people kind of working their way up or down, they tend to be in that way. And then as you go up, they have different layers of skills and ability. And then the top ranking division, if you will, is called Makucha, and that has broken that down into 3 subsets, and they fight the main kind of tournament, if you will. So on any given day on a sumo tournament, majority of those sumo wrestlers will fight once a day. They'll fight someone within their own kind of division. The senior ones tend to be towards the end of the day, so there's probably about 40 or so bouts between people in the Makucha division. And even within that kind of top division, they're broken down into individual ranks, of which I think there's 4. So there's Maegashira, which is the rank and filers, and again they're all numbered. So not only are you in the Maegashira ranks, but you're number 1, which is the highest, 3 to probably about 14 or 15, which is the lowest. If you're at the bottom, you've got a chance of being relegated down. etc. So that's how the pyramid works. And then you have 3 more kind of subsets of rank. And the very top one, what second top is called an Ozeki, which is also the name of my cat. And you sit in that Ozeki rank, and it's almost a pinnacle. And then you have to win 2 tournaments in a row, or to have the equivalent score to have won 2 tournaments in a row. And then you kind of migrate to godlike status, if you will, which is called a Yokozuna. And a Yokozuna, once you become a Yokozuna, you can't not be a Yokozuna, if that makes sense. So everyone else can move up and down, except the very, very top.
I have a question.
Yokozuna, like from Street Fighter. His name in Street
Yeah,
Fighter.
the Honda.
The Honda. Where's that from then?
I don't know. Question for you: are there any particular moves or athletic feats that are impressive in sumo that you like? I don't need to kind of.
Oh my god!
And why though? And a follow-up question. So there's 2 questions in one.
Okay.
What is like the most embarrassing way a sumo can win or lose?
Yeah.
Because like in boxing, like if someone gets knocked out in the first 30 seconds, like not embarrassing, but like it's the what's the sumo equivalent of that?
Net.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting one actually, because the answer to that is twofold. On a personal performance level, slipping is
embarrassing.
So basically you've got to stay on your feet. That's the simple thing. So if any other part of your body touches the ground, then you've lost. Or if you get thrown out of the dojo, the ring in which they have, then you've lost as well. So if you're going towards somebody and your foot slips, through no action or no volition of somebody else, then that's a pretty poor way to lose, right?
Yep.
There's another one which is really interesting, which is around a specific move, and it's called what's it called? So basically, you jump out of the way. They have this initial charge called a tachai. So you kind of sit there, and then they go bump, and they come with each other. It's called a henka. Thank you. So if you run at each other, but one of the wrestlers purposely dodges out the way, so the other person has lots of momentum that kind of doesn't go into anything, and then they kind of slap them down. So that kind of avoiding the initial charge and slapping down or moving or grabbing or whatever, it's called a henka. And if you win off a henka, it doesn't go down well within the audience.
As in, it doesn't go well with the audience. As in, you did something so amazingly well that you're good, or they think it's a cheap move.
Awful.
Is it like when a heavyweight knocks out another heavyweight in 17 seconds and everyone's like, I paid £100 to watch this?
And not so much, because sumo wrestling bouts can last anywhere from like the actual fighting part from about 2 or 3 seconds to a couple of minutes. So they can be over very, very, very quickly. But that's often to do, just much skill. What you want to see is, some action. And they have kamirite. So kamirite, as pronounced the question, is the ways of winning. So they're very meticulously mapped out lots of different kinds of moves and throws and ways in which you win. There's quite a few of them. I'm not exaggerating when I think there's probably about 40 or so of different ways of winning to be mapped. It might be more than that. So there's some popular ones like oshidashi, where you're pushing someone out, and yorikiri, where you kind of force somebody out, you kind of carry them out the ring and stuff like that. And then there's some very, very obscure ones, and legs and arms and flips kind of happen. And, so part of the excitement of watching it is kind of see how they perform, the kind of battle of wills between people, the differences between physique, size. Size isn't everything. So actually, some of the smaller guys do really, really well against the big guys because of the positions they're able to get into and agility and that kind of stuff. So all these different kind of ways add that kind of layers of interest and intrigue and excitement to when you watch it.
Bit of a left field recommendation. I don't know if you like anime at all or manga. There's an anime called A Record of Ragnarok, and the premise is this: there's pantheons of gods, Greek, Norse, and they're fighting for Ragnarok. And if they beat the mortals, the humans, then the universe is over. In this competition, they bring back heroic fighters or warriors, and one of them is Raiden Tamimon. I've probably said his name wrong, but apparently he was like an amazing sumo wrestler from like the 18th century. I know you might enjoy that particular episode because again they're very accurate with what they do. It's actually a pretty cool bout, but I might enjoy it.
Right. Oh, what's the other one about Portugal? Do I ever about that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So every year in Bristol, I do a thing on a boat, and I call it something different each year. It started off as me not having anybody to have a party with because I work by myself. When I'm first going, some business that can be quite lonely, and everyone else has Christmas parties, and I wasn't. So I decided that I would try and see if we can get some friends together who were based in Bristol and have a lunch. So I kind of put it out, and just to kind of make it look more official, more kind of like important than it was, I asked my friend, Lolita, amazing designer, to come up with a logo. So this was just kind of coordinating to get together in the pub for lunch, and it's called Christmas 18, I think it was. And about 20 or 30 people just turn up just for lunch, and it was really great. We had a nice time together. And then someone said we should get together again. So I decided that we're going to do it again, and we had a venue. This time it's on a boat in Bristol, and I called it something completely different, but still using a similar kind of format, Something Bristol. And every year after that, I decided I was going to do another one, and it would be called Something Bristol. So the name itself would always change. So the idea really was for it to be kind of the antidote to going to conferences and networking. It was trying to be what came from one of the reasons I'd go to things like Accountex when Accountex was first starting out, and you'd see, in the pub afterwards, and all the free agent guys would be over there, and all the zero guys would be over there, and all the receipt bank people would be over there, and they wouldn't talk to each other, and it really would, kind of confuse me why, especially the senior people didn't know each other. So I thought if I set up something and just had an open invite, we'd see you come along and give people an opportunity to network without being watched, without being looked at, without being scrutinized, and without any formality associated with it at all. So there's no sponsors, there's no talks, there's no structure, there's nothing. There's just a boat filled with beer, local beer, filled with other drink, filled with food, and people come along and they talk to each other. And that's it, pretty much.
I'm guessing it's difficult to barbecue on a boat, correct?
Yeah, but off the boat it's quite easy. Yeah. And so they're all called something different. So I had a sumo themed one. I've had all kinds of stuff, over the years. And then last year, kind of an emotional one, a real emotional one. So I promised, there's a story around it. I haven't got time for it now. There's another story associated with this. It's all Ainsley Dameron's fault. But I agreed that once I kind of worked out why I was doing it, I would stop. And that would be it. I would do no more. So the intrigue for me was always about how do I kind of cope and deal with this thing. But what's it for? I don't really understand it. It doesn't really have any purpose in my life, really. So, and then what happened to him, I don't remember it, but John Stockdike, who's a very big, important person to many of us, died. And last year, I found it incredibly emotional to talk about it. Really, really emotional to talk about it. And John was always used to come. I know John for 20 years or something like that. And it kind of nearly answered the question why I was doing it in some kind of, semi-spiritual kind of way. So I decided I couldn't do it in Bristol. I didn't want to stop so much, but I couldn't do it. So I decided I wanted to do something elsewhere. And I decided the last one, I had a cocktail made up. So we created a cocktail, very good mixologist created a cocktail. So the idea was in the last one in Bristol, I was going to bring this cocktail out for everyone to share, and that was going to be a thing. And then when we were trying it, we decided that the weather was going to be too bad and you needed something really hot and sunny to do it. So all these things kind of came together in the confluence, and thunder and lightning here in Bristol. And so I decided the best place to do it would be in Portugal. It's because the cocktail would make sense. I could try something completely different, and so on and so forth. So lots of the kind of reasons came about it. And we had about 20 people come along, most of whom I knew. Everybody I knew, most people I knew pretty well. Some people I didn't know. Some people like Gareth from Zen and Connect came on. I didn't know Gareth particularly well.
Lovely man.
Yeah, beautiful man. And so we just had this time together where people who had to make the effort of buying tickets, taking time off work, or as part of work, coming along, spending a few days together, mixing and socializing, culminating in a thing. And, it's really kind of interesting if you can take that time. What happened is the time slowed down. So when you're at conferences and events, you see people, it's very concentrated. You do the stuff at the end of the night, get a few drinks, get a bit drunk, everything's fine. You go off and do the next thing or your routine. But here for 2 or 3 days, everything just slowed down. So you could spend time talking to people. And that was great. It was really, really good. So I really enjoyed that. Next year,
always find it hard, just on your point about the conferences, of like every year the percentage of people that I wanted to talk to that I actually got to talk to seems to just get lower and lower at all of them, and I always end up being like, oh, well, we spent 48 hours, give or take, from start to finish in the same room, which is not that big, let's face it, and I didn't see that person or that person or that person, and I was pretty much in the same place most of the time. Yeah, so I can completely understand that, and you can get into better conversations over a longer period, right? And so there's plans to take it beyond Portugal, around other continents, is that right?
Well, different places potentially. I think what was really important about, especially in this kind of event as well, is I really want to stress that there is no plan, right? There's no big driver. There's no big master plan. There's no great agenda. It's completely driven by what I want to do. It's very selfish in that kind of way, but it is. I call it what I want to call it. I said to you, if I can't come up with a good name and a good logo, I'll never do it. I won't do it. I'll wait till next year till I come up with a good idea. So I haven't got an idea for next year at all. That's it.
There's something wholly in, like, it's a similar kind of idea about like when you go on holiday and you're sat on depending on your choice of holiday and what you like to do, sat on a sun lounger, trekking to base camp, whatever it is that you like to do. There's something about switching off domesticity that switches on ideas and conversations that you just can't get into when you've got a million things, Slacks to reply to and emails to deal with, and training to do and that sort of stuff. Like, making space for that is just you can't, like, yeah. So
what was interesting
I think it's the completely opposite of selfish, if I'm honest, Richard.
What was really interesting about Portugal this year was the fact that, again, through my box connections, is that there were 2 members there, and so we had an accountant and a lawyer. Ricardo and Rodrigo came along. So we had accountants and tech people from the UK meeting accountants and lawyers from that country, and they brought a couple of their clients with them as well who were involved in tech. And it was just really nice kind of dynamic that you could kind of create, and I really like that. And if we did one outside of the UK again, I'd probably look to see where I could, if that's an idea, I could develop a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Could you do it somewhere where there's enough opportunity to make that stuff kind of happen? So I don't know. I mean, we might do one in Bristol again next year. It's probably quite likely. Will we do one next year? Probably. And then we'll see. Probably. And then maybe the year after. I don't know. I haven't got a plan yet.
I know Dale will be itching to ask tons of questions as we reach the top of the hour. We've done the quick fire on you before. So there's one last question on the quick fire that I wanted to ask you.
Okay.
That I was going to start asking people, which is, who would you like to see us interview?
Who would like to see us interview? Good question. Well, I said Ian Phillips last time, didn't I? I think Ian Phillips would be great.
Yeah, he would. I love Ian.
I'd also like Tom Dunkley as well.
Mm-hmm. Don't know Tom. Do
really
you know Ian? So I might reach out to him and see if he's keen.
So there's at least 2. I think Darren Glanville's always interesting.
Yeah, he needs to come back on again.
Yeah,
he's a supporter of the show. He's on our Patreon.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realise.
He is a legend.
Who else? Do you know what? If you want someone really, I don't know, someone who's absolutely fascinating, giving a completely different view on the world, someone who's like really absolutely up to their eyeballs in compliance stuff. People like Adam Prince from Sage, Stuart Miller from Zero, those type of people who are really at the sharp end of thinking about policy and stuff like that.
I thought you were going to say Paul, the Australian guy, Paul Messner. I thought you were going to say him. You said the king of compliance isn't dead.
The last time I had a really good chat with him, he was in his pool.
How was he? There you go.
Yeah.
Compliance isn't dead.
Hanging at his kids. Yeah, he did the whole thing in the pool, which is, too much money.
I've hogged the mic, Dale. Over to you, mate.
I think I froze.
You did? You freeze? Yeah. You're back now.
I did freeze, yeah. I was going to say, we're at the top of the hour. There are Tony, you're right, there's lots of questions I want to ask Richard, but time is up. Thank you for being on the show, Richard. Tony, thank you for being co-host. It's been awesome. People watching, listening, thank you very much. Comments, Catherine, Sam, Mark, you're all awesome. And I'm going to hit end stream and we're going to chill. Peace.